Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another installment of Funhaus. This week's episode is brought to you by nobody. Oh. Woohoo! You can say whatever you want. My guest this week, once again, John Smith. Hello.
Hello.
Adam the Bones, Father Bones.
Hello. That's my full name.
And an all-new guest from Wisecrack, Jared.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You reached out to us, or your friends did, and
but thank you for agreeing.
I was very excited that you guys acknowledged us.
Oh, I mean, are you kidding me? You guys are part of Rooster Teeth. You guys are the kings.
It's too kind. For those who don't know know anything about Wisecrack, can you explain a little bit about what you guys do over there?
Yeah, Wisecrack is a kind of collective of comedians and academics and film lovers and just people who are really into the humanities. And basically, we use pop culture as a means to educate people and to open them up to kind of new insights in life and get them interested in stuff. And so a lot of times we'll analyze movies through the lens of philosophy or sociology or history or something like that. And so we have our YouTube channel, which is Wisecrack, and then we have our new movie podcast called Show Me the Meaning, which is all about analyzing cinema, trying to kind of discern ideologies from cinema and seeing what kind of tangential learning we can do.
I particularly enjoyed your Inception episode.
Oh, thank you.
That you guys did on your channel. I think if someone wants a primer, would you say that's a good entry point into your guys' content?
We've done 2 Inception episodes.
The one where you're explaining that it's a movie about movies.
Yeah. So that one's it's called like the Deception of Inception, but I think that's a good one. I mean, I think definitely our most popular property is Rick and Morty. People are crazy about Rick and Morty, and Rick and Morty deals with a lot of kind of cosmic pessimism and absurdity. And so it's an easy way for us to talk about philosophy, existential philosophy through Rick and Morty. So I guess if you're a Rick and Morty fan, I definitely recommend checking out our Rick and Morty content on the channel. It's the stuff that's most popular, and I think it really kind of communicates to people what we do in a pretty effective way.
Absolutely. Nice. Well, with that all said, we're going to talk about the sequel to Donnie Darko.
Well, I was going to say, if we're talking about analyzing masterwork films, I think we picked the perfect movie.
I agree.
For those wondering how our selection process works here in Funhaus, the Wisecrack gentleman reached out to me and asked, what movie would you like to talk about on our podcast? I'll be joining them this week. Actually, throw that out there if you want to check out our discussion of Donnie Darko.
Yep.
That came up. They said, we're going to just talk about Donnie Darko. Is that cool? I said, sure. Well, Jared's going to be on our podcast. We should talk about a bad movie, S. Darko. Then again, that's prejudgmental, so my bad.
Yeah.
I assumed S. Darko was a bad movie.
For those that don't know, S. Darko is the direct-to-DVD sequel of Donnie Darko.
S standing for Samantha, who is Donnie Darko's little sister, who is present in the first movie.
Yeah.
Is it the same actress?
It is. The only returning actress.
Mm-hmm. Those are the 2 films that she's been in.
She's also Ring Girl.
And she did the voice of Lilo in Lilo and Stitch.
Shut up.
Oh.
She did.
Had anyone seen this movie before?
I had, yes.
Oh.
When I was 20 years old, a couple girls came over to my apartment and were like, we rented the sequel to Donnie Darko. And I had to go, that sounds like a great movie that I want to watch with you.
How was the sex afterwards?
Non-existent, actually. They actually died while watching the movie because it was so bad.
Okay.
So,
Did you go back in time and save them?
Hey, don't spoil the movie.
Sorry.
Did the girls hate it as much as you do? Because I feel like this movie attempts to speak to like more feminine issues, whereas like Donnie Darko is all about like, being a horny teenager in the suburbs in high school. And this one's like kind of attempts to do the same thing from a feminine perspective. Did the women connect to it at all?
No, they were very confused.
Okay. That's what I suspected.
That was kind of my main thing about this movie was I felt like they were attempting to do like a feminine perspective, but all it was like those 2 girls, the 2 protagonists or whatever, barely spoke to each other and instead went scene to scene talking to different men who just hit on them in different creepy ways.
Oh, yeah.
True.
And then they underreacted and were just like, oh, okay.
I think it was filmed at a time when pedophilia in Hollywood was still not exactly frowned upon. And they said, there's a bunch of executives looking and going, yes, of course, they should touch the young girls like that in a creepy way. They'll be prime meat in the future, sick fucks. But yeah, I guess we should, before just throwing out random names, we should give a quick introduction of what the story,
good luck,
loose story of S. Darko. It takes place 7 years after Donnie Darko. Samantha and her friend Corey, I believe, are road tripping across America from Virginia to sunny California, though that's never really explained until the end of the movie. Just to make things quicker, we'll just explain that. But the car breaks down in the middle of Utah. Where do we go from there?
Well, what you can do, I think, is you can watch Donnie Darko and then hit yourself in the head with a hammer and then try to write down what happened in Donnie Darko.
That's
and that's
actually really
basically like
Yeah, they captured the same basic mythology, but there was no cohesion. There was no real sense of story to it. It was just like, let's take those ideas and just plop them in the desert in Utah with like a guy that looks like a 50s greaser and just sort of see what happens.
I don't know. Like when I look at this movie, I say, this movie is no worse than Southland Tales. I mean, it's bad, but I don't really like Southland Tales, and that's another Richard Kelly movie. But the thing I find interesting about this movie is that I feel like the director, he had noble intentions. I think that he totally fucked it up, but like there are, and he knows Donnie Darko well. Like, we talk about the weird pedophiles or whatever. That's something we see present in Donnie Darko. There's like the guy who runs that seminar who ends up being like into child pornography.
The Patrick Swayze character.
The Patrick Swayze character. Then there's like the town creep ends up being the priest. And I feel like in Donnie Darko, there's like similar sanctimonious kind of like actually fake religious bullshit. There's the woman who runs Sparkle Motion who's always talking about, you need to give yourself to Jesus. So that's maintained. So I feel like the guy knew Donnie Darko well, but I mean, the execution is fucked up. And I agree, like the whole feminine perspective seems so shallow. Just like, God, what was that line they keep saying? It's like, we're perfect. Immaculate.
What does that mean? But they said it with no like emotion. It didn't mean anything. It was just like it was just there. Like they knew it was a catchphrase they had to repeat.
So you say that the director had noble intentions. I feel like this is sort of how Alex Garland explained how he wrote Annihilation. He said the book Annihilation feels like such a dream that when I wrote the script for the movie, I didn't go reread it because I wanted to write it like a dream. I feel like this guy dreamed about Donnie Darko and said he tried to rewrite it, but as he was writing it, like Sebastian from the Neverending Story Part 2, the memories were fading. And he's just, we're almost there. And just as it kept going further and further, it got away from just being basically a remake of what I assume this kind of was.
Yeah.
At some point.
I mean, it's tough. Like if you have a director who made Donnie Darko and everyone loves that one, and you're hired to take up his mantle, I guess I would be tempted to just, do justice to what was already done, right? Like, I mean, it would be a strong move to just, throw a complete curveball and do something totally different.
I want to do like a side-by-side of the original Donnie Darko and S. Darko because it takes, I think I timed it, it was about 14 minutes before it just goes off the rails. Because it starts off with the girls in the desert, car breaks down, local boy picks them up, I could take care of you. You're like, what's going on in this town?
Local boy who is from like 1945 or
Yeah,
something.
he's a
he has
greaser.
the cigarettes rolled up in
That
his
was
sleeve.
and he's always squinting. It's real smoky in that room, He's like,
I feel like he wasn't used to the sun or something.
Yeah,
so
every scene he's
every day on
pouting.
set, he was like, "Can I wear sunglasses?"
He's like a caricature of the Fonz. It's like, it's not even believable.
Well, he's an English actor, which I know is very hard for any actor to do an accent of someone else. So I was like, he says so few words. And now I understand why. And everything was just sort of, it was all just looks and kind of, what's up, girls? Like, this man looks like just a picturesque rapist. Like,
I thought he was a vampire. Like, to be honest, I thought they were going to bring in a vampire element because I was like, this dude's I would have dug that. Vampire.
But within about 14 minutes, there is the doomsday scene, similar to Donnie Darko, where we are now introduced to a whole new character. All we saw was a man climbing a windmill, and one of the most poorly shot green screen effect shots I think I've seen, where he's talking to, I assume is Samantha, Donnie Darko's sister.
Like future Samantha.
Yeah, but she's like ghost version, and she's warning him about the end of the world. So she's now like the Frank character from Donnie Darko, but she's talking to a guy who kind of looks like Donnie Darko, but it was all very confusing. And so now we have the prophecy thrown out there.
Right, he's the Roberta Sparrow. We later find out he's Roberta Sparrow's grandson, and he's basically Donnie now. And yeah, you're right, she's Frank.
Yeah,
and it's the exact. I mean, spoilers. I don't know if we can jump to the ending, but it's the exact same ending.
Kind of. All
right.
Because nothing is resolved.
Also, I have a big issue with that. So I forget, basically, this character who we get to know as Iraq Jack or Roberto Sparrow. I think it's Justin
I thought it was
Sparrow.
Jackie Iraqi.
I know that's not racist, but
Danny Afghani.
fucking hell. I guess it is worth noting too. The movie takes place in 1995, so he's like a Desert Storm vet. This character,
Right.
But he
he's
jumps
so-
from a windmill as a meteor crashes down right on the windmill, and that sets the whole movie into motion.
With his like 1930s lantern. That was another thing. Like when it started, I was like, "What year does this movie take place?" Because
Yeah.
there's a greaser and there's a guy walking around with like a lantern.
Well,
I was very
and the original Donnie
confused.
Darko was all about sort of Reagan era 1980s too, right? And really played that up. And this movie, it could have taken place today, or it didn't really matter.
There's one scene in the background where you see the
OJ trial.
The OJ trial in the background.
That's it.
It's like their attempt to do the similar thing with the
and then-
Dukakis debates
Yeah.
and stuff.
As far as sequels go, it reminds me of Blair Witch 2: Book of Shadows.
That's next week.
I remember. I just remember. I remember the first Blair Witch movie. You're like, I have some interesting questions about the lore. And you see the second movie, like, I have no more questions. and I wish I had. I wish I had more because they try to do too many weird things that are just weird for the sake of weird like that.
But that's like Richard Kelly's style. So, if you were to say that like another director was hired to fulfill Richard Kelly's vision, I would argue that he did a good job because Southland
Yeah.
Tales is all that, just like mysterious nonsense.
I'd really like to do that movie someday. Just
Really?
side note,
I
I
saw-
wanted to like that movie so bad, and I didn't. It wasn't. I didn't really enjoy it, but
I think it was the scene where Sherry O'Terry beats up Christopher Lambert in an RV down at Venice Beach. I was like, I think I'm out. I don't know what's happening. Who are
Or
these
doesn't
characters?
she later, or there's another character who has The Rock at gunpoint and tells her, "Let me suck your dick right now."
Is that a thing?
That is in the movie, I promise.
yeah, we're definitely doing Southland.
Back to the sadness that is S. Darko.
Yeah.
I feel like we can skip through most of this.
Yes.
I think we're only introduced to one new character, Jeremy, who's like a creepy. There's a weird love
Oh yeah,
triangle
Jeremy.
thing
His
going on.
introduction, which was it's another thing of being pegged for a 2009 film because it was right before like, I guess gay rights kind of became ubiquitous in at least pop culture, like media culture, because the intro is he tries to introduce himself and the friend goes, "Are you a gay?"
Yeah.
And then that's like a whole thing where he's like, "No, I'm not a gay."
Yeah.
And Samantha's like, "I don't think you are a gay." Like it was the weirdest, like out of nowhere. I was just like, "What?"
It's a very strange moment. He's introduced as the young lad who I guess has $600 circa 1995 to pay for a meteorite.
Oh yeah, there's meteorites in this movie.
There's
that
a
happened.
weird
Or
subplot
they're like
with a
they're
meteor.
tesseracts.
Yeah, I didn't want to skip
right?
ahead, but they turn into like glowing
Yeah, we
space
see
cubes.
them falling
and,
from the sky. Yeah, they're all tesseracts,
Well-
which is a Marvel thing, right?
No, it existed before that.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the four-dimensional
Well, I mean, yeah, it's a four-dimensional
cube.
shape,
Yeah,
but
right.
it's just clarifying for the audience. It's not. This is not in the MCU.
To the point though of the meteors in Donnie Darko, I thought that the genius this and this is talking about the theatrical release because I haven't seen the director version, but the creepy part about Donnie Darko is when Frank is saying, "This is how much time you have until the end of the world." The end of the world I always assumed was the end of Donnie's world.
Right.
Not the end, because you as the audience goer are going, oh, the world's going to end. I felt like this movie, they're like, it is about the end of the world because it's leading up to a meteor shower that's literally destroying
Yeah.
the
A
world.
tesseract shower
Sorry, Tesseract
thank you,
shower.
Jeremy.
or meteorite, as Jeremy corrected.
I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen. I'm going to watch Donnie Darko tonight.
Same.
But what? So at the end, Donnie sacrifices himself, but for what?
I think what happened, what you saw in Donnie Darko was if Donnie were to live, if he had wandered off onto the golf course and didn't die, this is how other people's lives would have been affected. Ultimately, Jenna Malone's character died.
Yeah.
So
Right.
people died because of him. Frank dies.
And
That's right. He just sacrificed
jet
it for
engine,
her.
the jet engine that crushes him is the plane that his little sister Samantha is in, flying to the Sparkle Motion, like
regionals.
regionals. So her
Right.
plane crashed.
Right.
Jenna Malone died.
And because Donnie dies, the family no longer goes on the plane. Jenna Malone doesn't die.
Patrick
The
Swayze
mom and
doesn't get
the
outed
mom and the
as
daughter
a-
don't die. I
Yeah.
assume in the plane.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I
that's
mean.
one
That's what I mean.
engine.
They didn't get on the plane. So that made sense when you watch it in the context of the film. You go, oh, the world did end for Donnie.
Yeah, or that tangent universe ended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or yeah, exactly. So that I thought was very smart. Whereas this movie literally means like it's the end of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is just done through very
but
Or
like,
CGI.
And we didn't even touch on there's kidnapped kids in this movie.
There's a lot of subplots.
There's a lot going on, and none of it goes anywhere.
So I guess since we just talked about it, the big sacrifice that Donnie does in Donnie Darko, they try to replicate. I want to say within like an hour of S Darko.
Right.
There is a scene where Corey, the friend, now with the greaser boy, pull up in a car full of hoodlum or what do you call them, little whippersnappers?
Just vicious people in this town.
They just pull up in this Firebird, and for whatever reason, the character Samantha's just sort of walking around town as she does, and she's like, "When are we gonna leave? Like, what's happening?" Cool guy's like, "I'll fix your car whenever. Who cares?" And then her friend Corey is just like, "You're so lame," and there's like, "Screw you." And then Corey and the greaser boy start fighting, so she kicks him out of the car. And then he just speeds ahead, and then there's a random car crash. One of the most poorly edited.
Yeah.
Just a car comes out of nowhere and kills Samantha. So now our main character, S. Darko, is dead.
But isn't the car coming out of nowhere like a plot point?
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
So it showed a car being towed.
Oh, and released.
and then it comes off of the tow and rolls away, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool way for a car to come out of nowhere. And then a whirlwind comes and picks the car up and shoots it through a wormhole.
Oh, I forgot about
so
that.
So that was how.
There was a lot of wormholes.
It showed like a clever, practical way of this car to appear out of nowhere, and it was like, but we're taking it up a notch.
Well, that's a throwback to Donnie Darko, where the jet engine fell.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but where's the plane? Because it fell through a wormhole, and that was like, that's a clever way of doing it in a low-budget film, right? Like, okay, but this one, they physically show a car going up into a wormhole.
Yeah.
But there's also an element of like sacrifice Olympics here, because even that sacrifice is then rendered obsolete, because then Roberto Sparrow's grandson does the ultimate sacrifice, and then both of them end up being alive. So so there's like 3 timelines here.
Yeah,
right?
Samantha
There are
died
3.
twice, right?
Yes.
And then was brought back both times.
Right.
I'm trying to keep it in order, but it is all just.
I think we're doing a pretty good job.
I think we're doing okay.
Hang in there.
Yeah.
So I guess at this point now, Corey becomes the main character, the greaser boy who basically ran over Samantha. I'm not sure how she died. She was crushed between
I think
both
she got
cars.
sandwiched between. They never showed it on camera.
Yeah.
They just sort of showed like a very tight shot
It's
of a
unclear.
car crash.
He walks away with
I
like
thought he just drove straight into her. I thought he got mad and then he just ran her over.
No.
That was what I thought happened.
So you remember during the JFK assassination, they set up all those toys and like how Lee Harvey Oswald could have possibly shot him. We need to set up one of those for this scene.
I think so.
If the car's going at
I'll go
60
get my
miles per
Hot
hour.
Wheels.
Yeah.
So
They're also very willing to forgive him, like immediately.
Yeah.
The car came out of nowhere,
Yeah,
man.
I think like
He's also
maybe
drunk.
18 hours after it happened, he asked, "Are you still mad at me?"
Yeah, I just killed your best friend.
he's back to
No
work.
big.
Everything's fine. All's forgiven in this town. The cops are like, you can't prove he did it.
Well, that cop is good friends with him because at the party scene, there was a 4th of July scene. There was one random shot where it shows the cop like walking in holding a 24 pack. And he was like, hey, like he had like this walk that he was doing and he was smiling. And
missed
it was
that.
just like, okay, like the 35-year-old cop shows up to college parties and it's like not a big deal.
That's another parallel with Donnie Darko, is that like Donnie Darko all leads up to like Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this leads up to the 4th of July. I guess, yeah.
There is a list of bullet points out there somewhere where like
Yeah.
hit these.
Oh, wait, so that's why, okay, so they couldn't have it end on the party. They needed the party to happen before
Yeah.
the climax.
Like
so
3
that's why
days
they were
before.
like, yeah, they're like, July 4th isn't for a couple days. And he's like, yeah, but we like to party. And that was like how they explained having a 4th of July
They
party.
just needed to have a
4th
party.
of July, yeah.
So at this point, Corey gets to do a do-over by, I guess, just sort of wishing at a church.
Well, she's led by the ghost of a kidnapped kid.
Isn't that the guy's little brother?
No, there was that's the thing. There was 2 kids in that
Yeah,
cave.
that was that. Okay.
The red shirt kid was another missing kid, and then the second corpse they found was that dude's little brother that died a long time ago.
So that was a big question I had, which is why wasn't it just one kid? There was no reason why there had to
Yeah.
be 2 missing kids, because I kept confusing it, or the one dead kid for the kid's little brother.
Me too. Maybe because they needed to like have that scene where your brother died. Well, my brother died too. What in his
but they
room?
could have still just been the one kidnapped kid.
right, yeah.
It's just
Wait, so who actually kidnapped the kids? Is it the priest?
I think Jesse Spano.
yeah. I think Elizabeth Berkley from,
from-
Showgirls and
Saved by the Bell. I think she did it. The creepy Christian lady.
It's implied she did because there's that scene at the bank where she has the key around her wrist,
Yeah.
which is then found like in the desert. I
Yeah,
don't know.
once again, the director at least seems to have a competent knowledge of the themes of Donnie Darko. Is that like, the undercutting the religious self-righteousness of evangelicals. That's something we see in Donnie Darko. We see it in this. It's like, okay, I see what you did there.
Which I was thinking, out of all the people in this movie, I feel like Showgirls actress, what's her name?
Elizabeth Berkley.
Elizabeth Berkley got a call and was like, they're making a sequel to Donnie Darko. And she was like, this is my chance.
Yeah. Big break number 2, here we come.
It shoots in where?
Wasn't Showgirls made in 1995?
You're asking the wrong question.
I don't care. Wait, I feel
boy.
like the sacrifice could have been more important if it was like, if the sacrifice of her friend of switching places in the car so that she dies instead, like saving that friendship might have been better, or maybe saving those 2 little kids that are trapped in a cave.
Well,
so like all he just saved this one mopey girl. Like,
Yeah, well, so what happens is they do the do-over. Now, this is similar to Donnie Darko, where Donnie, first, we assume in the movie, he has foreknowledge of what's going to happen, so he sacrifices himself because he's like, the world's going to be better without me.
Yeah.
What a worthy sacrifice. Cool movie. This one, the girl Corey reenacts the exact same scene as we presume to have the knowledge of what's about to happen, but instead of, it's just this weird conversation, instead of it happening the way it did, it happens again, but now she's still in the car and then gets hit and dies.
Why didn't she just get out of the car?
Yeah, exactly. She didn't have to die.
Yeah.
Or just say, hey,
confusing.
don't gas it, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's turn around.
Yeah. Wait 2.5 minutes. Let's listen to, I assume, Coolio on the radio. That would have been
obviously.
cool at the time.
Yeah.
Gangster's Paradise, maybe. And now we can go. But instead, it's just a very awkward scene. My notes here, all I wrote was, what and why? And then it proceeds to be a scene with Iraq Jack now making a bunny mask out of metal. To be another throwback to
Because he saw it
Donnie
in
Darko.
the book. Because Donnie likes to draw. That was one of the...
Draw in Roberta Sparrow's book,
Yes.
right?
So he makes a bunny mask.
And Iraq Jack doesn't have to be the grandson of Roberta Sparrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Why would he be in the middle of
Why?
Utah?
Yeah, why?
We got to get to the point where Tesseract meteors fall, and
Yeah, we're gonna have to fast forward
nerd guy
this.
like hulks out on her for some
Yeah.
reason.
Here, I'll quickly get through the bullet points of where we go from here. There's the church chat where we find out that the church man is very pedophilic. Iraq Jack is now the grandson of Roberta Sparrow. We got that. They find some dead boys up in a cave.
Yeah.
And they arrest Iraq Jack. And then there's we get to the fireworks scene. Now the friend Jeremy, the nerd kid who now is covered in boils and meteorites. I was like, I do want to talk about this scene just because it's very creepy. She walks in, the girl Samantha walks into her hotel room, finds a dress splayed on her bed, and Jeremy, creepy boy, just comes in like a
Slides.
murderer. She goes, it's the sweetest thing anyone's ever done for me. It's like, run! Oh my God,
Well,
run.
then, doesn't he then says, put it on, and she's like, I don't know, it's a little expensive, isn't it? And he says, just be quiet and put it on. And she goes, okay.
That dress also looks like it's made out of condoms.
Yeah, it does. Oh my God.
That's like what I thought it was at first.
Deeper than I thought.
But we are now at the final act of our film, the climax, as the couple now, Jeremy and Samantha, go atop a hill to watch meteors fall, to watch fireworks. They want to watch fireworks, but instead we're greeted with the end of the world.
Well, they couldn't afford a budget for actual fireworks.
That makes a lot of sense.
I feel like that would be
didn't-
way cheaper than the Tesseracts.
Well, didn't they explain that out in the plot? That like he was like Jeremy was looking out and he just goes, "Fucking done!
Oh, yeah.
The fireworks are done!" Like that, and then he starts, and she's like, "You're scaring me."
Well, his face starts morphing.
Yeah.
And he,
Like he gets all veiny and
I
weird.
thought that was going somewhere, and then it just stops.
Then he calls her a cock tease and pushes her down. She cracks her skull on a rock.
Oh, he kills her. That's right.
No, he cracks her skull on the Donnie Darko mask.
Oh, on the mask. That's the one.
It's the bunny mask that
Right.
Iraq Jack had made previously. That's just sitting in the middle of the desert.
Well, he's homeless, but he has access to like an entire blacksmith shop apparently, where he can just like build these things.
Well, he keeps sneaking into the junkyard.
Yeah.
That's like a recurring thing.
And then this is the parallel of like in Donnie Darko, Frank runs over Gretchen and then someone shoots Fred.
Donnie shoots him in the eye.
Frank.
Yeah.
So that's how this is how Frank died. This is why he has that bullet wound. And then whenever we see future Samantha, she's got like that fucked up thing on
But,
her head.
but the thing is, I thought Samantha was supposed
And
to
the
be
condom dress on.
the Donnie Darko character. I was
No,
very
no, she's
confused.
the Frank.
She's the Frank.
Yeah.
Iraq Jack is the Donnie.
And
Yeah.
Chloe or Zoe or what's her name? The friend.
Corey.
She has like the watery chest thing.
Which that was one thing I thought, that's the one, I feel like one of the original things that they didn't do in the first Donnie Darko, but they did do in the second one with like the water tube coming out of the chest.
Oh, that is in the first one.
What? Absolutely.
And then I like when she, at one point, she doesn't want to go because it represents like your future path or whatever. She doesn't want to go, so she just karate chops it in half, and then
it turns and like
it looks at her, and then
Excuse me.
Yeah, it does like a Dr. Ock tentacle sort of
Yeah.
thing. Like,
How many people had the water thing? Because I was joking. I know that was from the first thing, but I thought it was funny that like everyone suddenly had like Donnie's connection to the like fourth dimension or whatever.
yeah, that whole thing was supposed to be he could see. That's how you see the future. Is like you see your path. And
Yeah,
that was
you follow
That
it.
was a financially viable way of doing it back in 2001 or 2000 when they were editing the movie. Of like, what's a cheap way we do some CGI? What's a low budget Abyss style thing we could do? And they bring it back in this movie. It's just like they do it a lot. It's just this weird water tube.
They probably found out how inexpensive it was to do, and they're just like, let's spread it out across
Yeah.
the whole movie.
everyone gets water chest in this one.
Worked on sliders, we can do it here.
Ooh.
Yeah, good reference, me. So we're now introduced to a wormhole where a meteor goes through and turns into a giant bird.
Oh yeah, the bird.
There's like a phoenix.
Flaming bird.
There's like a flaming phoenix, which then becomes meteors that are now just peppering the planet Earth.
Or is it just Utah, or is it destroying the whole? Who knows? But they're
I
they're
have questions.
I kind of lost it.
poorly
near the end
rendered
there.
orange cubes. Like you used to make in kindergarten with like toothpicks and marshmallows.
Yeah.
These little like cubes.
Well, they're
falling.
Tesseracts.
Yeah, they're Tesseracts. All right, you know the mythology better than us. Lay it on us. Explain it all.
Wait. So
wrap it up in a bow.
Why? Wait. So now I'm wondering, like, why when Iraq Jack sacrificed himself, why does that make a difference?
It does. That's what we were saying.
Because the car crash, all of the stuff that happened in the town didn't happen. That was something I only figured out during this podcast when we've been talking.
Just now?
Yeah. That,
Clue us in.
That Samantha just leaves town immediately.
So what happens is, hold on, Ghost Samantha lets Iraq Jack out of jail.
Yeah.
He then puts on the bunny mask as like a tribal helmet. He then goes back in time, is on top of the windmill where originally the meteor strikes. And then rather than jumping off this time, he's sitting up there wiggling his little feet, smiling,
Giggling.
giggling.
Kid on a swing. Yeah.
He is then killed, and we're now back at the beginning of the movie where, but now Iraq Jack is dead.
Yeah.
Similar to Donnie Darko, now setting in a different set. Now we're in a third or fourth, fifth timeline where
So-
now Samantha's like, I just want to leave town.
Yeah, and
but-
because of that, the meteorite didn't get sold to young Jeremy, so young Jeremy's life is spared from radiation poisoning.
Yeah, but he gave it to the hotel owner.
Yeah. But
Who
that
starts
guy was
itching.
creepy, right? He was knocking on her door or something.
It wasn't that bad. But you're right. Nothing, like, as far as we know, the meteor's still there. Now a different guy's going to get all messed up and hulked out. And the creepy priest is still at large. Jesse Spano's still at large.
The kids are still trapped.
The kids are still dead. They show the kid putting his arm through the bars of the wall, but he's still dead. He's going to die.
And we don't know why the Tesseracts are even coming in the first place, or
Yeah.
does that have something to do with the car?
I think it maybe has to do with like them crossing over to different dimensions or something. but-
There's a strange cosmic bird feather that's never really explained where very early in the movie.
Don't worry, the director explains it.
He says,
Hell yeah.
we have a feather.
It's a
not-
feather. It's not a feather.
Feather, it's not a feather.
That's all he says?
No, he then says...
It's like Forrest Gump.
Yeah. He then says it's... he never says what it is. He just says it's a fourth dimensional object that we perceive as a feather because we can only perceive 3 dimensions. And as for why it comes out of the television, he is silent on that.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. I totally forgot that in the beginning of the movie, Samantha pulls a feather out of a TV,
Yeah.
which IMDb notes in the trivia section is a reference to The Ring. It is not. Fucking hate IMDb trivia. It's the worst. And that feather is then given to Iraq Jack, which I guess allows him to travel back in time. But once again, the Tesseracts and the end of the whole thing, the idea, yes, we're talking about Donnie Darko. In the movie, it explains how this is the end of the world. It's the end of his world. Very smart. This one, they're like, it's the end of the world. It's literally the end of the world.
Right.
And But is that still going to happen? Is the meteor still going to happen when we get to the 4th of July? We don't know.
It's unclear.
It just,
and all these Tesseracts seem to do is just like blow up a little bit when they hit the ground. They're not ripping new wormholes. They're just act like rocks that have fallen when they get there.
Yeah, they don't really seem that powerful.
No.
did anyone die from them? Not shown, right?
No, that's another thing is that everyone's reactions to them were very underwhelming.
It's like a mild nuisance.
Or maybe it's that everyone is going to get those boils on them.
And Hulk out.
Yeah, and Hulk out.
Yeah.
So the point of this movie is that Tesseracts are going to turn the whole world into like hulked out rapists?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, but the rapists are already there. You know, the whole setup of this movie I find to be kind of stupid. So first of all, if you remember like Donnie Darko's home life, Samantha's home life, like she lives like upper middle class, nice area. You know, like she's got it going on, and now we're supposed to believe that Donnie. Like the opening credits say that Donnie died and it ripped the family apart, and now everything is so bad that she wants to move to California to become a stripper. Right?
They say dancer,
but we know that's
a club.
Yeah.
Right, because she says it's a club.
But it's her friend's dad's. Does her friend's dad want his daughter to be a stripper?
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Every
Well, no,
father's
she reveals that like, oh, my dad doesn't even know that I exist. This whole thing was bullshit.
Yeah,
Or-
tricked ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say in Utah, that's everyone's dream.
And all her mean friend wants to do is move to this shitty Utah town full of like hateful people.
Yeah.
That's her whole art.
I have so many questions. Is it worth us reaching out to the director or writer of this movie and just
they probably don't have anything else to do.
I kind of want a deep dive. I don't know if that's good supplemental content that we could attempt to produce.
Well, what
here.
we should do is we should show them this podcast where we rip apart their masterpiece
Yeah.
and say, hey, you want
They
to...
don't have time. They're busy.
No, I will say that, hey, man, we saw you had noble intentions. And it's,
Yeah.
I mean, look, I always put myself in the position of like, man, what if someone hired me to create a sequel of Donnie Darko? That'd be hard as
That
fuck.
would be very
Yeah, that's true.
Near
want-
impossible.
You want to give the people what they want, and people like Donnie Darko for X reasons. So I feel like he looked at Donnie Darko, took out like, okay, wormholes, music that kind of dictates a tone,
Sacrifice.
and like
Sacrifice.
shitty evangelicals, creepos. I feel like he hit the boxes.
He did hit the boxes.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
He hit them very hard
Yeah.
with a very hard hammer.
The hammer may have been a little off here and there, but he swung. This is what happens when you make a sequel to a movie where none of the original creative people are involved, and you have an example. So people look at it and go, okay, those are the things that people want.
Yeah.
They want the time lapse. They want creepy. They like you said, they had a bunch of boxes and they checked them off and they said, there it is. But if you actually look at Donnie Darko as a film of what it was, how it was sort of this happy accident, there's an excellent article AV Club wrote about. I'll try to link it in the description. But they talk about how the DP worked with Richard Kelly, who is this very experienced DP, working with this really young kid who's just stressed out, didn't know what he's doing. And the DP's perspective of what it was like to work in that world was like, it's like that guy helped a lot. It's sort of a George Lucas situation where
right.
there is a visionary. He's very young. He doesn't really know what he's doing. And it takes a lot of hardworking people around him to make this movie. As Darko, I think everyone's just taking the paycheck.
I've actually also heard that the editor of Donnie Darko is also pretty responsible for kind of guiding Richard Kelly's hand to at least that initial cut. And that's why, in my opinion, I think the theatrical cut is better than the director's cut.
I preferred it too, yeah.
I've not seen the director cut, but now that I've seen As Darko, I feel like I don't need it because I feel like the lore has been shut. I now have it all. I understand it. I will continue my Donnie Darko fan fiction on my Tumblr account. Please check it out. Link in the description.
Yeah, and all you folks out there in the internet, like if we're just too dumb to get it, throw a comment in there. Let us know, maybe.
Shut up.
Really lay into us, you know?
Well, that will do it for our S Darko review. I think we're one of the 3 people in the world to actually do it. So that's really, good job. Good job, us. Jared, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
You already mentioned we can all check you out on Wisecrack. Anything else you guys are working on that you want to plug?
Well, yeah, I just want to plug that we will be doing around, if you're listening to this right now, you can also check out our Donnie Darko podcast on our podcast called Show Me the Meaning. You can find it. Maybe there'll be a link in the description.
We will
of this.
absolutely link it.
Adam is going to be joining me when we discuss Donnie Darko, which is a better movie than this one. So if you want to hear us dive deep into all the insightful, interesting things and why Donnie Darko has lasted and still something that people talk about, check out Show Me the Meaning. Would appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be great.
I just wanted to kind of end by reading some other sequels that have been made. And, maybe Adam can totally nix this, but if people wanted to say which movie they'd like to see us talk about.
Okay.
So you might not have known that these movies existed.
Go ahead, read them off.
Marley and Me, The Puppy Years.
That's
a
crazy.
prequel. It's Marley and Me prequel. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective Jr.
Okay.
It's Ace Ventura's fat son.
Any other Jim Carrey?
Son of the Mask.
Okay.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumber
2?
Yeah, well, that was...
That old... The
there are
when,
two
when,
different-
when
the
Harry
one,
met
the
Lloyd.
one with them in high school.
Yeah, when
and
Harry
then
met Lloyd.
Yeah. There's also American Psycho 2 with Mila Kunis. Tooth Fairy 2 with the
Cube.
Get Her Done guy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. All of the Scorpion Kings. I just put... Because there's a whole series of
That should be our
Scorpion
next
Kings.
series.
Jingle All the Way 2 also with Get Her Done guy. And Boondock Saints 2 All Saints Day.
We'll put up a straw poll if you guys want to vote on those, or if you want us to do a more timely movie.
Yeah.
We can try to spread it out a little bit. We've definitely been reading the feedback. People are getting maybe a little burnt out on either the length or the type of content.
Some people are loving it.
We enjoy talking about bad films. I don't know. Was it a nice break for you, Jared? Just
No,
talking
it
about
was.
A bad
I
movie?
actually think that I'm a little bit jealous because I do like looking at bad movies and trying to figure out, okay, what went wrong, you know?
I feel like if you've ever been on any set or you've worked in any part of a film industry, not even like true film, like a short film, making movies are hard.
Oh yeah, like if your movie's good, it's always partly a miracle.
It's usually, I mean, you could watch just deleted scenes from like Force Awakens when it's like, hey, we're gonna do what? Like, it may sound like the greatest idea in the boardroom, and then when you get there, it's like, we cut that. That's not good, and that's millions of dollars being cut right there. And so, while we do rip on stuff, I think it is worth noting. At least someone worked hard on this.
Yeah.
They tried, but sometimes, dude, making stuff's next to impossible. And if someone's paying their mortgage because of these schlocky films, good for them, dude.
Yeah, and especially once again, writing a sequel or writing and directing a sequel to a cult classic, like I wouldn't want someone to ask me that. That's like so hard.
I feel like though we are at a point where enough time has gone by that if we do reach out to these people, I think they'd be pretty honest and go, I was high. That's fine. So thank you once again, everyone, for watching, listening, spreading the word. Once again, I want to thank our sponsor, Nobody, and you guys for making this wonderful podcast a dream come true. Jared, once again, thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, check all the links in the description. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Well, speaking of age, let's talk about the story of Russell, the wrestling dog, and how he was a puppy, but no one wanted to adopt him because he pees on people whenever you pick him up in this fashion.
Well, he said he was shy. He wanted a family more than anything else, but he was too shy, and anytime anyone came up, and I'm pretty sure that first kid that picks him up in the movie is also the voice of the dog because it sounded the same. But